Killian Charles. I'm President and CEO of Brunswick Exploration. The ticker symbol is BRW on the Toronto Venture. We are Canada's largest grassroots explorer. We have one of the best and most interesting lithium grassroots portfolios in James Bay and have recently announced a brand new discovery at our Mirage asset in Quebec.
But it's not a mirage. It's real. It's a real discovery. So I think people got excited about the headline, excited about what they interpreted in the release. So maybe let's just talk through that first of all, if you wouldn't mind. What we're trying to say.
Absolutely. So Mirage is something that is quite interesting. It's located about 40 kilometers to the southeast of the Trans-Taiga, which is a major infrastructure road in Quebec's James Bay region. And in the span of about, I'd say, 2 weeks, our teams uncovered hundreds of spodumene field boulders. And then subsequently, which what we press released a few days ago, found potential source of these boulders. And some of these sources are quite sizable, up to 80 meters width in apparent dike. So there's going to be a lot of more work to be done around here. This is going to be a core asset for Brunswick Exploration and one that's going to drive a lot of value creation.
Right. Let's be clear about what your definition of discovery is. You've got boulders and you say you've got the source of these boulders. What more can you tell us?
Yeah. So, we believe we have a potential source of boulders. I think that's something that's really interesting to find is that, the dikes, which are themselves filled with spodumene, they stretch over 3 kilometers of strike length. And then we have the same thing seen in boulders. And so there's a lot of potential to find quite a number of more showings. And you have to remember, this is a rather large property. We have another 12 kilometers of property to go exploring. We have teams right now that are doing that type of work. We are still just at its infancy in terms of making discoveries. And what really matters on the lithium space, showing it. Proof is in the pudding, showing it in terms of drill hole. And that's what we're leading towards. Early September, we're going to have some drills turning up to a minimum of 4,000 meters. So it's full steam ahead when it comes to this particular asset.
Okay, so I want to be clear. So you made a discovery. You don't just walk away and then hunt down the next discovery. You've got to work out what you've got, right? So when you're talking about 4,000 meters of drilling, you're talking about on Mirage, entirely around Mirage, to do what? What are you trying to prove?
Absolutely. So it's only Mirage. Well, we have lots of other prospecting that's going to be happening across the rest of our portfolio. We have a lot of other targets that we will be drilling in the future. We have to focus right now on our best asset. For us, we absolutely have to drill some of these larger dikes. You have to understand that the lithium space is still in its infancy. We're still trying to find real assets, and there's a number of world discoveries that still have to be made. And ultimately, what drives world discoveries is width and length of these dikes. And that's what we're seeing already at Mirage. We're seeing some very wide dikes, as I mentioned, up to 80 meters, but a number of them 20, 25, 40, 50 meters, all along that 33 kilometers of strike length. So it has everything that you want to really drive forward and, find something of economic interest. Not saying world-class discovery, it's still too early to tell, but the odds get better every day.
Okay, but what can you learn from some of the locals, shall we say, we won't name names, some of the locals in the way that they've gone about sort of identifying, how their deposits work, and especially when, obviously pegmatitis it seems to be word of the month here, is getting people excited in terms of valuations. You've got to show scale, and that, the widths and lengths of these things is the way to do that. So have they done things a certain way which you're going to utilize in terms of your drilling program? Or have you not yet planned that?
So it's a simple answer. Some of these companies, whether it's your Winsome, your Patriots, who have found absolutely stellar assets, they're 12 to 18 months. But what really separates us from them is the fact that this is an actual Grassroot Discovery, probably one of the first ones in the province in 40 years. Patriot was, we didn't know the extent, we didn't know that it was a world-class asset, but we kind of knew about it. It was known that there was a lithium showing. Same thing with Adina and Winsome. We kind of knew that there was a showing there. This is an area that no lithium was mapped. There was no spodumene in the area. Nothing was known. And it really underscores our strategy and how beneficial it can be in terms of servicing brand new assets that the market simply was not aware stood out there. Like, that's what makes this so exciting, is that we have a lot of work to do, and that's why it's so important to drill. This is something that is an actual grassroots discovery and speaks to the potential of our portfolio.
Why does that matter? Why does grassroots matter to you? Why does it matter that it was discovered recently rather than before? The lithium pegmatites are lithium pegmatites, and they carefully contain the value for you. Why do you keep majoring on that phrase and framing of it?
Because I think it underscores the fact that we have so much more left to do, not just at Mirage, obviously, but across our entire James Bay portfolio. That was really the impetus of Brunswick, was to focus on grassroots exploration. When I looked at the majors, when I looked at other developers, they were focused on known assets or more advanced assets. And we felt that this was a part of the lithium industry, if you will, that was woefully underserved. And that's where we decided to build that large portfolio. And it's in the span of 12 months, paying off incredible dividends, leading to multiple new discoveries. And so that's what makes us very, very excited. We now believe we've done it once with Mirage, and we are absolutely going to work Mirage as hard as we can. And as I mentioned, drilling is starting. There's going to be lots of work, but it also underscores that value proposition of Brunswick Exploration, where we focused on something that still has more to give. We have many more assets to go exploring across our portfolio. Obviously they haven't been locked up due to the forest fires. We've done, a tenth of what needs to be done in the province. We have multiple high priority targets outside of Mirage to go visit. So that's why I keep coming back to it. When I look at the amount of work we're going to be doing over the coming months, as we lead into the autumn, it is going to be extremely exciting for Brunswick, firing on all cylinders. Okay,
so the type of work that you've done to get to the point where you can start drilling, are you going to be doing more of that? I guess I'm trying to work out where the money's going. Is it just all going in the ground through drilling, or is there more like LiDAR or mag survey work to be done as well, in the surrounds?
Well, the fun thing is that we have capital. So, we definitely have over $13 million in the bank account. So we're extremely well positioned to go ahead and execute all of it at the same time. We can walk and chew gums. That means we can drill, no problem. We can go ahead and do prospecting. It's more of a boots on the ground than it is from remote sensing, whether it's geophysics or LiDAR or anything of that nature when it comes to lithium pegmatites. But we're going to be doing absolutely everything that needs to be done, and we can execute. We'll have multiple teams out in the field over the coming weeks here doing work, as well as advancing Mirage. So it's not a case of or, it's always a case here of and we're going to be doing prospecting, and we're going to be doing drilling, and we're going to be advancing our portfolio, and we're going to be advancing Mirage. So that's what makes it really exciting, is that it's not, focused on one thing. Even though Mirage takes a lot of room, there's no doubt about it. I'm not going to deny it. It does take a lot of room. There's also going to be a larger push across everything else to surface new value and potentially new discoveries up and beyond what we've already been so successful at doing. Okay, so it's a big land package. These are big kind of boulder trains that we're talking about, 3 kilometers type length. You've got to be efficient with your capital, but
sounds like capital constraint is not one of the issues that you're dealing with here. And I guess to that end, you've also been sort of tying up loose ends in terms of picking up surrounding claims as well. I see.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we believe, and that's part of one of the reasons why we consolidated as much as we could around Mirage, because we do believe that it's an asset that has a lot of potential to be sizable. And so from that perspective, we saw like, look, we need to give ourselves a little bit more breathing room and expand from where we are, just so that we're in better control of our destiny. Let's put it that way.
A couple of there's a couple of deals done there over there.
Yeah.
In terms of that?
So
Okay.
if you take a further step back, we've been consolidating the Mirage district, if you will, or region, since the start of the year. We initially struck a deal with Globex. Now we've consolidated with One Minerals, as well as added certain claims from Cisco Development on top of the staking that we did ourselves. So it's been something we've been slowly building up over the last 9 months to get into this position where now we've consolidated a very interesting package. We're finding extremely interesting dikes. We're moving into drilling, and we're planning a lot of exciting work over the next 6 to 9 months here.
Right. So help me out here, because I'm kind of conflicted as to how to read the lithium market in terms of investing at the moment. So we've done quite well with made money on millennial lithium, we made money on core lithium, we made money on Azure recently. So there's obviously you can make money, but there's also a lot of stories out there, and I guess companies are incentivized to say and do things a certain way, and it's hard to really kind of clear the table of the chaff and actually look at what is important. So in terms of stories that are out there, stories like yours who have kind of shot out of the gates, nearest down at 200 million market cap, share price has done exceedingly well in a little jump recently as well, obviously off of this news. But how do I know what real looks like, and whether this is just one of those wannabe stories, or if it's real or not, that it will get over there? Do you need to get focused real soon on the kind of core of the story, or do you think you've got time and room to go wandering around all of the multiple targets and assets and make more discoveries? How do you play the market? How do I play the market as a result?
There's a few questions in there, but I think what's happening is on the lithium side, we are dealing with a market that is in evolution, but it is predominantly immature. When I think of copper, when I think of zinc, when I can think of nickel, iron ore, pick a commodity, we've been mining it for generations. There are established producers. When I think of copper, Escondite in South America, Kamoa-Kakula, Ovotogo, these are absolutely large assets that dominate the market, dominate production, dominate the cost curve. We simply don't have that yet in the lithium space. We are finding them right now. So there's a little bit of a market uncertainty of sort of saying, well, what's a real asset? What is going to actually drive value forward? When I look at Pilbara, when I look at Patriot, when I look at, the new resource at James Bay Lithium and Alchem, those look like real assets. And so it kind of comes back to your investor. Well, our sort of rule of thumb, we have rule of thumbs in other commodities where I think of gold, 10 meters at 10 grams per ton. All right, that's starting to be interesting. That has a chance of being a mine. And on the lithium side, we sort of have that same space where if you got at least 50 meters at, say, 1.3, 1.4%, then now you're dealing with an asset that is going to have a real chance of being a mine and not simply swept away once these Patriots come online, once like these Adinas come online. And that's what we believe we have at Mirage. When I look at the apparent surface width of the spodumene bearing dikes, I'm seeing 25, I'm seeing 50, I'm seeing 80 meters wide. That tells me, hey, look, this is going to be one that's going to stick around. This is going to be one that's going to be significant and potentially make a lot of money as a mine down the line. So this is exactly the type of assets that investors or people looking in the space need to be careful of, is sort of say, okay, well, this great, you've got lithium, but you got a pegmatite with lithium, but is it actually big? Does it actually have scale to it? Is it going to be a major producer? And if you're struggling to answer these points, then odds are that it might be it's not to say that things can always change, but it might be a little bit of a tougher go to bring it to fruition or to an exit strategy, whether it's construction or a buyout or whatever else other opportunities you might have in mining. And then on the flip side to your question, do we focus on Mirage? Absolutely. I really want to emphasize we are throwing everything at it, including the kitchen sink. We are, very much focused on it. At the same time, we cannot discount, we cannot dismiss the rest of our portfolio. We absolutely have to work it. It just so happens that the first two places we went in Quebec, what did we find? Lithium. We went to our Anatical main asset a little bit earlier this summer. We found the NIS showing, which is something that we want to work at a future date. We go to Mirage, boom, right away we find something, right? It's fantastic, but we have to go through everything else while still advancing these assets. And that was always the vision behind Brunswick. We're going to, do the job for investors, in the sense of investors are confused or like, well, what do I want to own? I could own this junior that has, greenfield target, and that junior has greenfield target. That's what the proposition we said. We'll do it. We'll, have a portfolio of 15 different companies. We'll go through them. We'll definitely eliminate loads. And then we'll be able to focus on 1, 2, and hopefully 3, 4 more of these big assets. And then we'll monetize them in different fashions. That's always the logic behind Brunswick Exploration.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that, because you always talked about, three-pronged attack in terms of, okay, we've got claims, we've got geologists on the ground, and obviously drilling, right? So that's how we attack this thing. But in the context of the lithium market, as you've described, in the context of some companies will make it, most won't. Maybe there's not as big a rush, but at the same time, there's, new shiny objects come along and distract the market. At the moment, lithium's on and up. It's getting the money it wants and getting the attention that it wants. You've kind of got to time it right in terms of your ability to access cheaper capital as you move along the phases. Or if the market starts coming off again, the money gets a little bit more expensive, and perhaps you don't have as much disposable cash to do the things that you want to do. Do you feel that you need to kind of pick a flagship asset within your big portfolio of whatever it is, 800 plus, targets that you can look at and say, let's get something going, get something right, and show people that there's value to be had there, whilst working out how you monetize some or other projects within the portfolio?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the simplest way of looking at it is think of it from a dollar spend perspective. I think that's proof of the pudding, right? If I say, 90% of my dollars is going to Mirage, and 10% is going on grassroots targets outside and working the rest of my portfolio, I think anyone would assume that, well, your star asset is Mirage. And where we stand right now, that's absolutely what's happening. 90% of the capital is going towards Mirage. And, I think there's also a benefit that grassroots exploration is pretty cheap, but, there's only a 10% that's going outside. And right now, for us to be, quote unquote, distracted away from Mirage would mean that we've made a discovery that's as good, if not better, right? That's what it sort of ends up happening. So we're really working hard from that perspective of, look, we are absolutely focused on Mirage. It's the true new greenfield discovery. I think it speaks to the potential of, this type of work and how it can generate incredible value. And so we want to continue doing this, but we're never going to lose sight that this right now is a core asset for the company. It's what I started off by saying, Mirage, it's a core asset for Brunswick Exploration. That is absolutely the case. We want to focus on this asset. We are putting the necessary team behind it. We are putting the necessary drill rigs. And more importantly, we are putting the necessary capital behind it, which we have in our bank account to advance.
Okay, I hear you. I just think there's something worth clearing up. You got some kind of conversations going on out there in various chat rooms and talking about, one, the allocation of capital and, as a percentage. So 90% is focused on this because you know you've got something good. 10% is focused elsewhere, and there's a lot of things in that package that you're looking at, and you will spend money. And by definition, in mining, by definition, some will hit and some will not. It's just the way things are. Hopefully, you get another one or two or three, along the way. So I think that kind of clears that up. Okay, so your drilling. So did you say you have permits to drill, or you're expecting permits to drill?
So drilling for us starts in about 2 weeks' time. So we are very much aligned to get going pretty damn quickly. From discovery of the source to actual drilling, we're talking about approximately a month. We were quite proactive in getting our permits in hands or making applications for permits. We really believe in the work that we're doing, and we're not trying to slow down or take our time here. We want, you mentioned it again, or you alluded to it. There's a window, access to capital is good. There's market interest. So we have to go ahead and execute our strategy, execute our plan in the context of that window, in the context of the opportunity in the market.
There you go. You got to play or time the market, right? That sometimes brings you a little bit of luck. Okay, look, Killian, thanks very much for the update. I mean, obviously, markets liked what it's seen. I think you now need to back that up with drilling and results from the drill bit over the next, starting in the next 2 to 4 weeks or so. We can expect to see lots of results coming through between now and Christmas, can we?
That's the plan, but I'm hoping for some nice Christmas gifts, under the tree here with some nice big drill holes.